In the previous video, we talked about postback, and then we talked about the isPostback property, or isPostback. What I want to do now is take you out to Visual Studio and show you an example of isPostback working so you can really get your hands around this. Now, I've constructed a simple example out here, and I want to take you through this very slowly so that it makes sense to you. First of all, you'll notice that on my web page, I've put a label. This is label 1. Then I've put a second label. This is label 2. And I'm going to manipulate these two labels differently based on the isPostback property. Then I've put a button here. Now, if you remember, in .NET and ASP.NET, clicking that button is going to cause postback to occur automatically. So if you go out to the code behind page here, you'll notice I have a page load event. Now, on the page load event, I've got both labels generating a random number or being set to a randomly generated number. Now, just real quickly how I did that. I dimmed X as a new instance of the random class. I created an object called X off the new random class. And then I'm setting label 1's text property equal to, and then I'm calling the next method of the random class, and I'm telling it to create a number with a minimum value of 1 and a maximum value of 50, a random number in between in that range. Then on label 2, you'll notice I'm using the isPostback method or property. Now, notice I'm saying if not page isPostback. Now you have to be careful. That's negative programming, and nots always make it a little tough. Notice let's take the not out for a second. Let's just think that the not's not here. Okay, that's negative itself, isn't it? Okay, if the page is postback, okay, that means if the client's posting it back, then go ahead and run this. Okay, well that's going to happen anyway. So what I'm saying is, if postback is true, okay, then if that's not the case, then run this, which means only set label 2 equal to a random number when it's not a postback. Okay? So an easier way to say that was, if this is not a postback, that means this is the first time this page is being run, then go ahead and generate this. Now, here's what you're going to see when I run this page. That every time I click the button, and you'll notice on the button down here, notice this automatically handles a button click, and ASP.NET's going to send that up there. I don't really have to write any code here to cause this to happen. And I don't want any message boxes or anything popping up, so I'm going to leave this alone. So when I click the button, it's going to cause a postback, and ASP.NET's going to check to see, is this the first time the page is loaded, or is this the result of, indeed, a postback being requested by the user? So let's go back out here, and I will run this page. So I'll click and run, and if everything is working properly, there we are. I'm going to make this web page full page so you can see it. Now notice what happened. Label 2 was given the value of 37. Label 1 was given the value of 5. This was loaded, both of these were loaded on the page load, but this one's going to check to see when I click the button if it's a postback, and of course it is. So I'm going to click the button, and you'll notice the top one changed. Well, the first time it loaded, 37 is it. And notice all subsequent clicks, 37 stays the same because now it sees it's a postback. So the first time up, it said, okay, load it up, and all subsequent ones, that's a postback. Now, that's a real good, simple example of what isPostback does for you. Let's go back out to the code and take a look at it. The code here is that label 2 only changes when it's not a postback. So I hope that makes sense to you. That's a very simple example, and this is the way you can determine when certain code runs, whether it's as a result of the user sending something back, or whether it only happens on the original load when postback is false.